In this video, we are looking at consumers and producers surplus. So on this first problem, we're going to look at consumers surplus. They give us the price level of P bar equals 150 and then the price demand equation. So we do have to have a formula for consumer surplus, and this gives us the formula that we're going to look at. So notice that we're going to need to know what our X bar is. So that's the first thing that I'll find. And so if my P bar is 150, I'll take that and set it equal to, or plug it in for the P here, and set it equal to the 400 minus the 0.04x so that I can find my X bar. And so if I subtract 400 on both sides, then I am left with a negative 250 is equal to a negative 0.04x. And then I'm dividing both sides by the negative 0.04. And so when I get on my calculator, that's going to leave me with 6,250. So now using my formula for consumers surplus, I'm going to integrate from 0 to 6,250. My d of x equation is the 400 minus the 0.04x. And then from that, it says we're going to subtract P bar, which they told me was 150. And then that is with respect to x. So I'm going to actually go ahead and combine those constants real quick. So there's my integral. 400 minus the 150 will leave me with 250. And then I have my minus 0.04x. And it's with respect to x. So now I'll go ahead and integrate. The integral of 250 becomes 250x. And then the integral of 0.04x is going to become 0.04x squared divided by 2. And we're integrating from 0 to 6,250. And so I'll plug them in, get on my calculator. So 250 times 6250. And then that'll be minus a 0.04 times 6250 squared over 2. And then minus, when I plug zeros in, of course, you're going to just get 250 times 0, 0. And then minus another 0.04 times 0 squared. So those are just zeros. So just to save yourself some number crunching there, you don't necessarily have to plug those in. Okay, so when I plug in the rest of this, then I'm left with $781,250. So they're having us round it to the nearest dollar. $781,250. Okay, the next one we're going to look at a producer's surplus. So this time they give us the P bar is $65 and they give us the price supply equation. And again, we have to have a formula. So this is our formula for producer's surplus. So notice once again, we've got to have our X bar. So if I take my P bar, which is 65, and I plug it in for P, that's going to equal to 5 plus 0.1x plus 0.0003x squared. So not as easy to solve as the last one because notice it's a quadratic. So when I solve quadratics, I'm going to have to set them equal to 0. And as I do that, I'm going to also put my terms in order from highest power of x to lowest. So 0.1x, and then 50 or 5 minus 65 is going to leave me with a negative 60. And so unfortunately, I'm going to have to use the quadratic formula to find this value for the X bar. So I'll take my opposite of B, so that'll be a negative 0.1, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so 0.1 squared, minus 4 times my a, which is 0.0003, times my c, which is a negative 60, and then all of that is divided by 2 times my a, 0.0003. Now, you're going to get two answers when you punch this out. I went ahead and simplified under the radical first, and I got a 0.082 under my square root, and then also simplified the bottom, so 0.0006. And you're going to get a positive and a negative answer. The only one that makes sense here is the positive, since we're talking about producing things. And so that's going to round to 311. So now, using that with our formula, we are integrating from 0 to 311. My p-bar was the 65. I am subtracting my s of x, which is 5 plus 0.1x plus 0.0003x squared. And then all of that is with respect to x. So I can go ahead and, again, simplify first. So 65 minus 5 will be 60. And then we'll have a minus 0.1x, and we'll have a minus 0.0003x squared. And then we're ready to integrate that. Okay, so when we integrate the 600, we get a 600, I'm sorry, not 600, that should be a 60. That will become a 60x. And then when we integrate the 0.1x, we're going to get the 0.1x squared over 2. And then minus, when we integrate the 0.0003x squared, that'll become an x cubed over 3. And we're going from 0 to 311. So now, when I plug those in, you're going to get a 60 times 311 minus a 0.1 times 311 squared over 2, and then minus a 0.0003 311 cubed over 3, and then minus, when you plug those zeros into all of those, 60 times 0, 0, 0.1 times 0 squared is 0, and 0.0003 times 0 squared is 0, so that's just a bunch of zeros you end up subtracting. So when I punch the rest of that out, I am left with $10,816. So that is my producer's surplus, $10,816.